Okay, so moving along with searching arrays, one useful search, a lot of useful searches actually depend on the array, this array here, being sorted, meaning in ascending or descending order. And this goes back to the the guessing game that you used to play when you were little, right? You know, guess a number between 0 and 100 or 1 and 100, and you'd guess 25 and they'd say higher, and then you'd guess, 75 and they'd say lower. And that enabled you to kind of zero in by always going in between the highest and the lowest, but it depends on the numbers in the array being sorted. So let's go through a couple of basic sorting algorithms. You can watch a lot of videos on how these algorithms work. I'm merely going to be just coding them for you. So let's go and change this array. We're not gonna search anymore. Let's just do some sorting. So let's erase all this, and we will just print out we'll print out the the array. Excuse me. We'll print out the array before sorting. So print array before sorting, right? And then later we'll print the array after sorting just to see, right? So let's quickly print out this array. Print I equals 0. I is less than a number's dot length. I plus plus, and we'll print out the array elements, right? Numbers, bracket I, plus, we'll put some spaces between the numbers, right? Something like that. Print, we'll do a print, and then we'll print a blank line, right? Okay. So if I ran this code now, we would print out down here, we would print out the array. And there's my array, unsorted, right? Okay. So the first method I'm going to teach you is called a bubble sort. So I'm going to create a method called bubble sort, right? And there's a lot of built-in sorting that you can use. You can import from classes, but for any introductory computer science class, you're going to have to sort an array. So we'll have it take an integer array of, we'll call it num, right? And the way bubble sort works is it goes through the array and it kind of bubbles up the numbers one at a time. So it compares the two cells next to each other, and if you're going from least to greatest, if the first cell is less than the second, it doesn't do anything, and then it moves on to the next two cells in the array. And if the second cell is smaller than the first, it just shifts it up. And it goes through the whole array once. And then it goes back through the whole array again, and it keeps comparing the two cells next to each other and bubbles up the smallest numbers to the top. And the only way you know you're done is when you didn't have to swap any of the two cells. So we need some kind of Boolean to keep track that we swapped, and that's what's going to get us out of this, the loop, right? And so while we had to swap, we're going to start comparing all the elements in the array and change them if the second one is less than the first one. So the first thing we'll do is we'll set it equal to false. And this is maybe not the most elegant way, but I think it's the easiest to understand. So then we'll go through the array, the entire array, right? J is less than num.length, j plus plus. So we're going to go through the entire array here, right? And we're going to compare the cells that are next to each other. So if the jth element, in the first case 0th element, right, is less than the next one, right? Or let's do least to greatest, right? So if the zeroth element is greater than the next one, that means the next element is actually smaller, then we have to swap them, right? And I could write a method to swap, but I could just quickly swap here. So I need a temporary variable, right? Temp, and we're gonna just swap these two elements. And this code should be pretty straightforward to you, right? I'm gonna take the zero in the first time through the zeroth, and I'm gonna make it the first, right? J plus 1, and then I'm going to take the j plus 1, or the next one, right? And I'm going to make that what I stored as my temp, right? And then I'm going to say that I swapped something, right? So I know I swapped, right? And it's going to continually go through this loop over and over, in this while loop, over and over. It's going to go through the array, comparing the two that are next to each other, and swap. And when it goes through this loop one time without actually swapping anything, then it means the array is already sorted, right? So now I can call this method down in my main, right? So I said I was going to print it after sorting. Let's just take this code, right? Here's the code to print out the array. I could even put a header, right? Oh, forgot this one, sorry. I could even put a header on this, right, to say that, after sorting this out, right, sorted array, right, okay, and now I have to call the bubble sort method, right, so I'm going to call bubble sort, right, so bubble sort, and I'm going to pass it the array of numbers, right. And remember, methods, when you're passing an array, it's actually passing the address of the array. So any changes to that array are actually going to be done in the original array. Arrays are different than when I pass an integer. When I pass an integer, I'm passing by value. But when I pass an array, it's actually passing by reference. So any changes to the array in here actually still exist after the call. So let's see what happens. Let's see if my quick sorting is working. And clearly I went out of bounds here, right? And the reason quickly right here is up here, right? So I went to the length of the array. However, I'm looking at the next element. So I can't do that. That's going to go one too far. So I have to go to the length minus 1. And we run it. So here's my sorted array, 2, 3, 5, 22, 33, 55, and it actually sorted. Now to change the code, right, really quickly, if I wanted to sort in descending order, the only thing I need to change is right here, right? And I need to say if the first number is less than the second number, then swap them, right? And now if I run this code, right, my array would get sorted from least to greatest. And you could take an argument to this array, ascending or descending if you wanted. But here's a general algorithm to do a bubble sort.